Hello and welcome to Unit 5. You will hear my dog howling in the background, which I cannot stop. That said, this week we are working on Unit 5 custom reports. And the idea behind these custom reports is that the decision-making process of any sort of business related to a database is based off of good and timely information and the synthesis of that information to give them access to it at the end of the month, at the end of the week, at the end of the quarter, whatever they want to do as far as reports are concerned. Because that's how individuals that are in charge of the business make decisions. They look at those reports, and then they go with this is the factual information of the report, and then they make decisions based off this. Logically speaking, if the report isn't bang on, if the report isn't up to date, if there are issues with the report, there's going to be issues with what you do. Your decisions are going to be based off of things that aren't correct. And I used to have when I used to work on database consulting for some individuals, there was an individual I worked for, he would say garbage in, garbage out, because the database he had before me wasn't always updated. So they couldn't tell if it was the database or just the data within it. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as you go through. Now, this week's focus is till then custom reports. When you're looking at the custom reports, make sure to understand, they tell you, hey, I could pull up my table and then add the fields that I want from my table and then modify it from there and things along those lines. The easiest way to make a custom report is to use one of the existing report creation wizards, create the report, and then modify it. That's the way I've always found to do it. Get the basis of what you want and then modify it. But all these reports, very, very important when you go to create a database and you go to do what you need to do, make sure to ask your end user what questions they're going to ask for the database. Because if they're asking questions of a database that you don't actually put in information to answer the questions, this is all going to be for naught. So it's really important to figure out what type of questions they're going to ask, how they're going to use the database, what the reports are going to look like at the end. And you can also go, there's some rapid prototyping tools. Sometimes people use PowerPoint. They use a piece of paper and just draw it out and say, is this what you're talking about? But the idea behind it is whatever that final end product needs to be, whatever way they're going to make decisions, you better make sure that they have that information in there, and you better make sure that your end user understands that if they suddenly have if the good idea fairy comes and lands on their shoulder after the development has taken place, going backwards is going to be a lot more time consuming. So ask those questions, give some time to the process, but make sure there's a sign-off point, because if you get paid, by contract and they suddenly start changing the contract, you better make sure that they've signed off on stages so when you go back and recharge them, it's there. And otherwise, they will definitely blame you, and it'll definitely come down on you. So make sure that you get feedback from the end user. Make sure that you're asking that they want. Make sure you know what they want. Make sure that you have the information in it that they want, as well as whatever custom reports you want to come up with. But that's knowing what they want is far more important than how it's going to be formatted. Because when you know the questions, then it'll align itself to which reports you're making, how they're going to look, and the different information. So I hope that kind of helps. I hope that kind of helps you out throughout the week to keep in mind, because there's different stages as we do our database development. You have your tables, which stores all the information. You have your forms, which allows you to input the information and filter how the information is. You have your queries, which allow you to ask questions of the information, and then your reports, which allows you to take a look at the process part of the information and display it and how you want it to go. So I hope that gives you enough information. I hope that lets you kind of help as you go forward. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. But there's your start. So I'll look forward to the discussions and what I see from you this week.